Hey guys, tonight we travel back, way back. Imagine this. You're dropped without warning into a vast, wild landscape. Trees tower over you, the wind bites at your bare skin, and there's not a building, grocery store, or phone charger in sight. You're standing in the Stone Age. No boots, no bag, not even a snack bar. Just you, a few oddly shaped rocks, and the sudden realization that deodorant won't be invented for several thousand years. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, why not post your location and local time in the comments? I love seeing where and when you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You land in the lower Paleolithic period, about 2 million years ago. Earth is raw, untouched. You look around and it feels like someone left the entire planet on hard mode. There's no trail, no signage, and definitely no "you are here" dot. The only thing here is nature. Real, unapologetic nature. The first thing you notice is the cold. Not brisk hoodie weather cold. This is a deep, bone-cracking, I should have worn seal fur kind of cold. Your modern brain starts racing. How do I survive? Where do I go? Do I even have signal? No, you don't. You have frostbite creeping up your toes and the haunting realization that your nearest delivery meal is several millennia away. You take a step and immediately feel the uneven, rocky terrain dig into your soft, spoiled soul. Remember that time you stubbed your toe on a coffee table and acted like it was the end of the world? Yeah, multiply that by 100. Every step here is a potential sprain, cut, or tragic story for the archaeologists of the future. Somewhere nearby, a large bird cries out. It doesn't sound friendly. You whip around, heart pounding. Relax, it's probably just a giant vulture circling in case you don't make it. Comforting. You look down and see a rock that sort of resembles a hand axe you saw once in a museum. You pick it up. It's heavier than it looks, awkward in your palm, and nowhere near as helpful as your phone. Still, you clutch it like it's a lifeline. In a way, it is. Now comes the hunger. Modern hunger is skipping lunch. Stone Age hunger is realizing you haven't eaten in 24 hours, and the only food you've seen is a beetle scurrying across a log. Do you eat it? Yes, you absolutely eat it. Protein's protein. It's crunchier than you'd like and doesn't taste like chicken. But hey, survival has a flavor, and it's mostly dirt. You wander, aimless. The sky starts to shift color, warning you that night is coming. And here's where it hits you. In the Stone Age, night isn't cozy. There's no porch light, no Netflix, no sleepy jazz playlist, just pitch black wilderness and the eerie sounds of predators waking up. You find a tree with thick roots and decide to curl beneath it, hoping the bark offers protection. It doesn't. Your entire body shakes from cold and fear. You're wet, tired, and fully aware that if anything with teeth walks by, you're done. And then, because why not, the sky opens up. Rain, ice cold and relentless. It soaks your skin, your hair, the rock you thought might be useful. You close your eyes and try to breathe. Just breathe. Meanwhile, a few hundred yards away, an early human watches you from the cover of brush. They're wrapped in animal hides, holding a real stone-tipped spear. They tilt their head, probably wondering if you're even human or just a particularly confused animal. Here's the thing. Early humans didn't think in terms of stranger danger. They thought in terms of threat or food. You're not either, but you're definitely weird. They don't approach. Lucky you. As you curl deeper into the muddy ground, muscles cramping, stomach growling, a strange calm sets in. Your mind, overloaded, starts drifting. You think about how far humanity has come, about central heating, about tacos, about the fact that you miss indoor plumbing more than you miss your phone. This first night in the Stone Age is a wake-up call, not a fun one. Historians still argue whether Homo habilis, your possible neighbors tonight, lived communally or kept to isolated family bands. If they were feeling social, maybe they'd offer fire. If not, well, better luck tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, you better rest while you can, because day 2, that's when it gets really interesting. The sun rises slowly, dragging gold across the jagged tree line. You've barely slept. Your back feels like it lost a fight with a pile of gravel, and something, possibly a centipede, spent the night exploring your armpit, but you're alive. So, small win, your body is sore, cold, and damp. Every joint creaks like you're 90 years old, and the hunger that gnawed at you last night has now invited a couple of friends. You stand up, slowly brushing bits of soil, twigs, and your dignity from your skin. Time to find food, shelter, and maybe, if the universe is feeling generous, something dry. The forest around you is alive with sound. Birds calling, insects buzzing, wind hissing through the trees like it's trying to tell you something ominous. Spoiler, it's probably saying, your lunch. You squint around. The ground is scattered with potential edibles, but potential is doing a lot of work here. Berries glisten in patches, but you have no idea which are safe. One could give you energy, the other could give you hallucinations, and, eventually, an obituary. Historians still argue whether early humans had sophisticated knowledge of local flora or just played botany roulette until someone keeled over. After some internal debate and a sad goodbye to modern grocery labels, you nibble one of the less suspicious-looking berries. It's tart, squishy, and, okay, your tongue isn't swelling. Score. Unfortunately, one berry doesn't a breakfast make, so you keep going. A small creek trickles nearby, offering the chance to drink. You lean in, cupping water in your hands. It tastes fresh, probably the best part of your morning. But then again, the competition was centipede and armpit, so the bar is low. Your stomach growls again. Loud. Like prehistoric wolf loud. You glance around, worried you just broadcasted your location to every carnivore within a 3-mile radius, including the big ones. You hear rustling. You freeze. Something's moving through the underbrush. Not in the friendly squirrel way, in the that's too heavy to be furry cute way. You back away slowly, clutching your rock like it's a medieval lightsaber. Spoiler, it isn't. If it's a saber-toothed cat, your weapon will only make you crunchy with seasoning. But no, it's a group of wild boars. You exhale, relieved, until one locks eyes with you. Great. You've seen this look before. It's the same one toddlers get right before a tantrum. The boar snorts, takes a few steps forward. You step back. Then you run. Fast. Your feet slap the forest floor, dodging roots and ducking under branches. You trip once, catch yourself, and keep going. The boar gives up after a minute, clearly deciding you're too skinny to bother with. Drenched in sweat and panic, you slump down beside a rock, panting. Who needs CrossFit when you're a Stone Age snack? Eventually, you gather yourself and shuffle forward again. The day is wearing on, and the sun's making your already sore head pound. You find a patch of flat stones that seem vaguely familiar. Tools, maybe? You kneel, inspecting them. One has a sharp edge, could be useful. Stone tools at this point in history are revolutionary. You've landed somewhere near the Acheulean tool period, where early Homo erectus made symmetrical hand axes, a big leap in human development. You, on the other hand, accidentally cut your thumb trying to hold one. Blood trickles down your wrist. You suck at this. Luckily, the wound is shallow. Still, infection is a real risk. No alcohol wipes, no band-aids, no mom. You wrap it with a strip of fabric from your shirt and pretend you're tougher than you feel. Later, as shadows lengthen, you realize you need shelter before nightfall. Last night's tree hugger strategy won't cut it again, so you start looking for a cave. Not a big one, those are usually taken. Bears, snakes, angry raccoons with commitment issues. After about an hour, you spot something, a low overhang and a rocky outcrop. It's dry, smells mostly neutral, and isn't full of bones. You crawl in, heart racing, expecting something furry and territorial, but it's empty or recently abandoned. Either way, it's yours. For now, you settle in, your body aches, your head throbs, your stomach is still angry, and the air is turning cold again. You stack some branches in front of the opening, hoping they'll block the wind and possibly anything with claws. Inside the cave, your thoughts wander. Who lived here before? A hunter? A family? A lone wanderer like you? You run your fingers along the stone walls, wondering if you're leaving behind ghost stories for the next visitor. One wall has faint markings, scratches maybe. Could be early carvings, could be nothing. Historians still debate what the earliest cave marks meant. Communication? Art? Doodles from the original bored teenager? As night creeps in, your hunger turns sharp. You chew a few more of those possibly safe berries, trying not to think about the consequences. You press your back to the cave wall and close your eyes. Outside, the darkness breathes. Owls hoot. Something screams. Too far away to matter, too close to forget. You clutch your stone and try to remember what comfort felt like. You might make it through this night, but only barely. Word count while waiting continue. You wake up to a sharp chill that sinks right through your primitive shelter. The night was merciless, and the cold gnaws at your bones in a way no modern heating system could ever fix. There's no soft mattress here, no warm blankets, just the rough ground beneath you and the thin skin of animal hide you manage to scrape together. You rub your arms, trying to coax warmth back into your fingers, but the bite of the early morning frost is relentless. In the Stone Age, surviving the cold was a daily battle. Unlike today's insulated homes and central heating, your ancestors had to rely on fire, shelter, and sheer endurance. You might think building a fire is easy, but without matches or lighters, every flame was a miracle born from friction, flint, or lightning strikes. Starting one could take hours you might not have if hypothermia is setting in. You wrap your arms tighter around yourself and consider the shelter you built last night. It's crude, made from branches and leaves, barely shielding you from the wind or the damp. But it's all you have. You realize just how vulnerable you are, exposed to the elements, insects, and the unpredictable moods of nature. You think about how much harder winter would be. Ice-covered streams, frozen ground, shorter days with less sunlight. The Stone Age cold would have tested every fiber of your being. While you shiver, you notice the sky beginning to lighten. Dawn in the Stone Age would have been breathtaking. Vast skies stretching endlessly, painted in shades of pink, orange, and purple. But there's no time to admire the view. Your body demands energy, and energy means food. Again, you start gathering dry twigs and kindling to rekindle the fire. Every movement feels heavier, your muscles stiff and protesting. You strike flint against stone, sparks flying, but the kindling remains stubbornly unlit. It's frustrating and exhausting, but giving up is not an option. Fire is life. After several attempts, the dry wood finally catches and the flickering flames dance before you. You sit close, letting the warmth seep into your frozen limbs. Fire also offers protection. It keeps predators at bay and signals to any nearby tribe members that you're alive and alert. This dance with fire is a cornerstone of human survival. Historians still argue whether controlling fire was the first technology that truly separated humans from other animals. Regardless, mastering it meant longer days, warmer nights, and a chance to cook food, turning hard-to-digest plants and tough meats into nourishment. Speaking of food, your stomach rumbles louder now. You need to find something soon, or the cold and hunger will combine to drag your body down. You recall some berries you spotted near the creek yesterday. They look tempting, but also suspicious. Some berries can kill just as easily as they feed. Gathering wild food requires knowledge and caution. You spend the morning cautiously foraging, learning to distinguish edible plants from poisonous ones. Each bite is a gamble, but your survival depends on it. You find some wild roots, gritty and fibrous, but packed with calories. Your hands are raw from digging, but you feel a small victory. This is the slow, unglamorous work of survival. You wake up to cold. Not the kind of cold you feel when you forget to wear socks at night or when someone turns the AC a little too low. This is bone-deep, gnawing cold, the kind that makes your muscles stiff and your teeth chatter uncontrollably, the kind that makes you question whether you're still alive or slowly turning into a mammoth cycle. Your shelter, a shoddy lean-to of sticks and animal hide, is barely holding together. One gust of wind and the whole thing might take off like a prehistoric kite. You stretch your aching limbs and crawl out into the dim gray morning. No alarm clocks here, just your own shivering and the ache in your stomach that refuses to be ignored. The fire you struggled to build last night has burned out, leaving nothing but smudges of ash and a single thin column of smoke twisting up into the air. That fire was everything: warmth, safety, light, even companionship. Now it's gone, and you realize you have to make it again, from scratch. No lighters, no matches, just your own two numb hands, a couple of rocks, and a prayer to whatever ancient spirit watches over very cold, very hungry people with bad luck. You shuffle to gather kindling, dry twigs, leaves, bark. Your fingers are clumsy and you drop the flint more than once. Sparks fly, then fade, again and again. On the 12th try, the smallest hint of an ember catches. You breathe life into it like it's your last hope, which, let's be honest, it might be. The flame grows. You've done it. You feel like a wizard, a cold, starving wizard who's about 10 minutes away from frostbite, but still a wizard. Fire secured, your next problem is food. Your stomach is making whale noises. You remember a patch of berries by the creek yesterday. Some were red and tempting, others black and suspicious. Are they safe? Maybe. Or maybe you hallucinate and wander off into the woods singing ancient Taylor Swift lyrics. Hard to say. Historians still argue whether early humans learned plant safety from trial and error or by observing animals, but either way, mistakes were made, often fatally. You head back to the creek. The water's icy and your hands go numb as you scoop a few sips. Clean water is no guarantee, but you're too thirsty to care. A few small fish dart past your feet. You lunge with your crude spear. Miss. Again, miss. You consider yelling at them in frustration, but decide not to waste the energy. Catching a fish with a handmade spear might sound cool in a documentary voiceover, but in real life, it's just hours of wet feet and humiliation. Eventually, you settle on gathering more roots and edible greens, assuming your guesses are right. Most Stone Age people had generations of knowledge passed down orally, but you have the combined wisdom of no one. You dig up a few tubers, chew a couple leaves cautiously, and convince yourself you haven't been poisoned yet. By midday, the sun offers a little warmth, and your body stops shaking. You take a breath, look around, and realize something strange. Despite the hunger and discomfort, the world is beautiful. The trees are massive and ancient. The air is clean. A hawk circles overhead, and in the distance, the wind rustles through tall grasses. There's a rawness to it all. A kind of peace, if you ignore the constant threat of death. You start to move again. Staying in one place too long is dangerous. Predators roam here, and you have nothing but a sharpened stick and optimism. You head toward higher ground, hoping to find a better vantage point. Along the way, you find signs of life. Animal tracks, claw marks on trees, the bones of something large and recently eaten. You grip your spear tighter. Being constantly on edge is part of the deal. You're not at the top of the food chain here. You're in the middle, at best. Every rustle in the bushes could be a harmless bird or something big with teeth. Your hearing becomes sharper. Your eyes scan constantly. Welcome to the paranoid lifestyle of early humanity. Still, you're not completely alone. You see smoke in the distance, another fire, maybe another person, maybe a small group. Your heart races. You want to go, but you hesitate. Other people could mean help or trouble. In the Stone Age, not every stranger was friendly. Some were territorial, desperate, or just plain mean. Historians still debate how early humans handled conflict. Was there more cooperation than combat, or was it more Mad Max than National Geographic? Eventually, curiosity and desperation win. You approach slowly, hands visible. A small group is gathered around a fire. They're wary, but not immediately hostile. You gesture to your stomach and hold out the only thing you have to offer, a small chunk of tuber. They grunt. One of them nods. You're in. The relief is enormous. Humans, even in the Stone Age, are social animals. You're safer now, at least a little. Tasks are shared. One person sharpens tools while another watches the perimeter. They show you how to properly strip bark for rope, how to dig for grubs, which are gross but protein-packed, and how to spot the faint trails left by prey animals. You learn quickly. You have to. Around the fire that night, the group doesn't speak much, but they gesture, make noises, and laugh once when one guy sneezes and falls backward into the grass. You're still cold, still hungry, still wondering what tomorrow will bring. But for now, you've made it through another day. And if this is your life now, well, it could be worse. You've got a fire, a few human allies, and you haven't eaten the wrong berry. Yet. Dawn comes with no alarm, no snooze button, just the silent shift of the sky from black to bruised purple, then a soft grayish gold. The fire has burned low again, just faint orange beneath ash. One of your group members stirs before you and tosses in more dry brush. You watch as the flames twitch back to life, grateful not to have to do it yourself this time. You're sore. Every muscle in your body aches from sleeping on the cold earth, and your hips are beginning to feel like they've aged a century overnight. There's no padding, no mattress, just the unkind honesty of Stone Age ground. Your hair is tangled, your skin is grimy, and if a modern spa therapist saw you now, they'd probably throw in a complimentary facial out of sheer pity. But oddly, you're starting to get used to it. Not comfortable, exactly, but adjusted. The way people get used to loud neighbors or terrible coffee. Your expectations have shifted dramatically. Your idea of a good day now includes not bleeding and maybe eating something that doesn't taste like bark. Today, the group is preparing for something bigger. You can feel the change in rhythm. One man, older, scar-faced, clearly respected, gathers others around and draws patterns in the dirt. Arrows, circles, and jagged shapes. A plan. There's going to be a hunt. You're not sure if you're thrilled or terrified. Probably both. The last hunt you witnessed ended with a boar nearly rearranging your internal organs. But this one seems more serious, more coordinated. They're going after larger game, judging by the footprints spotted yesterday. Maybe something the size of an aurochs, the wild ancestor of modern cattle. Basically a furry tank on legs. Before the group moves out, you help prepare. Spears are checked, ropes tightened, hides rewrapped. One woman sharpens her flint knife on a stone, her focus intense. Another hands you a bundle of dried grass, motioning that it can be twisted into a fire starter. You nod, even though you still sort of miss lighters. The group moves like a wave, silent but strong. You've learned the signals now. The quick hand flick to crouch, the tilt of a chin that means stop. No one speaks aloud. Voices can travel far, and in the wilderness, that's often a bad thing. You step carefully, watching where you place your feet. The air feels thick with suspense, and then you see it. Down in a shallow valley, a massive aurochs grazes among low shrubs. It's enormous, easily the size of a modern SUV, covered in shaggy fur with a muscular hump over its shoulders and two horns that look like nature's way of saying, "Don't even try." The group fans out into a semicircle. A few move behind it to block the retreat. The plan is simple. Confuse it, steer it into a narrow gully, and trap it. Then strike with everything. Of course, nothing goes quite to plan. The moment one of the younger hunters lets out a whoop to startle the beast, the aurochs bolts, but not where expected. It charges left, straight toward the woman with the sling. She barely rolls aside in time. You freeze, clutching your spear with both hands, unsure whether to help or hide. But then instinct kicks in. You move, you shout. Not eloquently, more like a loud, panicked squawk, but it works. The aurochs turns, disoriented, and stumbles into a tighter path between two rocks. Spears fly, one hits its flank, another grazes a leg. It bellows, a deep guttural sound that shakes the air and makes a final lurch forward. But it's surrounded now. More spears hit. It slows, buckles, then finally collapses in the dust. Silence, then relief. The group exhales together, a strange harmony of breath and disbelief. You've done it. A real hunt, and you lived through it. You didn't even get trampled. Not bad for someone who used to scream at spiders in the bathtub. Now comes the less glamorous part, the butchering. You watch, half fascinated, half queasy, as the others expertly begin the process. They work with practiced efficiency, cutting, stripping, sorting. Nothing is wasted. The hide will be used for clothing or shelter, the bones for tools. The meat will be smoked and dried. Even the tendons will be turned into string. The smell is intense, earthy, metallic, and a bit too vivid. You're handed a chunk of meat to carry. It's heavier than expected, and your arms soon ache, but no one complains. This is survival currency. Food security for days, maybe weeks. A successful hunt is a jackpot, and you're suddenly rich, in a raw, protein-packed, blood-stained kind of way. Back at the makeshift camp, the mood is lighter. People smile more. One man hums a low, rhythmic tune as he smokes strips of meat over the fire. You sit and chew slowly, grateful for warm food that doesn't require guesswork about whether it's poisonous, even if it is slightly chewy. Later, someone begins to retell the hunt with dramatic gestures. No words, but vivid pantomime. The beast, the charge, the dodge, the final strike. Everyone watches, laughing in soft bursts. It's like the first movie night. No screen, no popcorn, just a crackling fire and a really intense reenactment. You realize this is more than bonding. This is how stories begin. How knowledge is passed. How culture, even in its earliest, rawest form, survives. Historians still argue whether early storytelling began with rituals, myths, or simple entertainment. But whatever the origin, this feels foundational. Night falls again. You sit near the fire, tired but satisfied. You've helped feed a group. You've started to belong. Tomorrow will bring more trials, more surprises, more aches. But for now, there's a quiet sense of victory. You glance up at the stars again. They seem closer tonight, or maybe you're just more grounded now. Either way, you made it through another day in the Stone Age. Barely. The group is on the move again. They travel lightly but with purpose. What's left of the aurochs meat wrapped tightly in bundles of hide, slung over shoulders, or tied with vines across backs. You carry a piece yourself, the bundle slick and slightly warm against your skin. You're starting to smell like the hunt, and not in a good way. Think beef jerky left in a gym locker. But no one complains. Scent is survival here. If you don't smell earthy, smoky, and vaguely like animal fat, you're doing something wrong. There's no map, no GPS, just a vague memory of seasonal routes and terrain passed down through generations. You follow a narrow path that hugs the edge of a valley. Below, a river glints in the sunlight. The rocks are sharp beneath your feet. Your soles are tougher now, calloused and cracked in ways that would make a modern podiatrist cry. But you walk anyway, because stopping isn't an option. The sun is relentless. There's no SPF 50, no shade umbrellas, just a thin strip of hide over your shoulders and the hope that today's sunstroke won't be too bad. Remember that bit about crocodile dung being used as early sunscreen by the Egyptians? Yeah, they were onto something. You might actually try it if only crocodiles existed in this valley when you had the willpower to apply their poop to your cheeks. But you don't. After hours of travel, the group pauses at a narrow stream. The water is cold and clear, and you dunk your head in gratefully. Everyone drinks with cupped hands or crude clay bowls. One woman even rinses a wound on her forearm with a practiced touch. You sit near the edge, letting the water cool your ankles. It's one of the rare moments of peace, broken only by birdsong and the occasional grunt of someone adjusting their load. Then someone freezes. You hear it too, low voices, not yours. Other people. Your group drops everything. Spears are gripped tighter and everyone crouches, eyes scanning the trees. Another group is nearby. Maybe a rival band of foragers, maybe friends, maybe not. In the Stone Age, neighbor doesn't always mean helpful. The strangers appear slowly, 4 figures, cautious, wary. One carries a sharpened stick, another wears a necklace made of animal teeth. Your group leader steps forward, palms open, in the universal sign of, "Let's not stab each other today." The tension is sharp enough to cut air. But after a few long moments, the strangers mimic the gesture. There's a slow approach, murmured sounds, grunts that might be names, places, warnings. You don't speak the language, no one really does, but the tone is unmistakable, uncertain truths. This is a historic moment. Well, sort of. Historians still argue whether early human interactions were more often violent or cooperative. Did people trade goods or just steal them? Did families share hunting grounds or fight over them? You're watching a live-action version of that debate play out right now. Eventually, items are exchanged. A bit of meat, a stone knife, dried berries. Not currency exactly, but a barter of survival tools. You offer nothing, mostly because you have nothing useful, unless they want your modern shoelace, which they probably wouldn't. The strangers leave, disappearing back into the forest. Your group relaxes slightly, but no one talks much afterward. Close calls don't need commentary, just silent thanks. As the sun begins to dip again, the group stops at a rocky ledge above a wide plain. Here, they begin setting up a more permanent camp, at least by Stone Age standards. You gather firewood again, your fingers now used to the feel of bark and splinters. A few people dig small pits for cooking. Others start arranging stones in a circle. It's subtle, but it feels like home building. Primitive, fleeting, but sincere. One older woman takes dried grass and starts weaving it into a kind of mat. You watch her work, mesmerized by the pattern. It's methodical, meditative. She pauses to show you how to twist the grass between your fingers, and you mimic the movement awkwardly. Your version looks like something a squirrel chewed and spit out, but she nods anyway. Encouragement is a rare and welcome thing here. That night, the stars come out in full glory again. You lie back on your grass mat, a little proud of your miserable creation, and let the ache of the day settle into your bones. Your back hurts. Your neck is stiff. Your feet feel like you've been walking barefoot across gravel for a week, because, well, you have. But you're still alive. You think about how easy it is to romanticize this life when you're sitting in a lecture hall or watching a documentary with popcorn. The noble hunter-gatherer, the simplicity of nature. the beauty of survival. But there's nothing simple about this. It's brutal, exhausting, sometimes terrifying. It's not that you wouldn't survive the Stone Age, it's that it doesn't care whether you do. And still, somehow, you're here. You hear soft singing again, low, rhythmic, almost like a lullaby. One of the younger members of the group is singing to a child who curls beside a mat of fur. The song has no words you understand, but the tone makes your eyes sting. Comfort, even here, even now. You fall asleep under the stars of no tent, no walls. Just firelight companionship and the sound of wind rustling through the trees. You wake with a sharp pain in your neck and something crawling near your ear. Not ideal. Brushing it off, probably just another beetle scouting your face for real estate, you sit up to the cold air of pre-dawn. The fire is down to coals again, and the world is quiet, except for the faint snoring of someone nearby and the sleepy calls of early birds. You've officially survived another night in the Stone Age. Congratulations. Still no antibiotics, but hey, you're adapting. Today is a big day. The group is preparing to move toward a cave further up the ridge. The idea is to settle for a while, store food, and maybe rest their endlessly blistered feet. You overhear murmurs and see gestures pointing toward the hills in the distance. The cave is real, not mythical, and apparently safe, or as safe as a hole in the rock can be when bears exist. Packing up takes very little time when you own virtually nothing. You sling your smoke-dried meat parcel over one shoulder, tuck your sad grass mat under your arm, and follow the others. Your wardrobe still consists of a scratchy hide wrap and a deepening layer of grime. If someone from the modern world saw you now, they'd probably assume you were a contestant on the world's bleakest survival game show. The walk is uphill and slow. The terrain shifts, gravel, roots, sharp limestone. Your calves burn. Every now and then, someone stops to drink or pick edible roots. You help dig up a few with a stick. They're bitter and dirt-covered, but apparently nutritious. You chew one slowly, your jaw working harder than it wants to. As you trudge upward, you pass trees with markings, scratches, notches, even faint carvings. Some look intentional. Are they warnings, directions, territory markers? Historians still argue whether early humans used trees as primitive signposts or simply left random etchings. Either way, it gives you the eerie sense that you're not the first to pass this way. Others have climbed this hill, carrying meat, dreams, and probably their own stress about cave real estate. At last, the cave. It yawns open at the ridge like the mouth of a beast, dark, deep, damp. Your group enters cautiously, and you follow. The shift from daylight to shadow is jarring. Inside, it's cool and musty, with the scent of wet stone and ancient dust. But there's space, real space, enough room for everyone to lie down without playing human Tetris. The group quickly begins making it feel livable. Fires are lit near the entrance for warmth and light. Flat rocks are dragged into sleeping arrangements. A few people start scraping lichen off the walls, presumably to avoid unwanted fungal surprises. It's still primitive, but it feels secure. Walls, after all, are a luxury you've been missing. You explore deeper into the cave, carrying a smoldering torch made from pine resin and a twisted reed. The flickering light reveals something unexpected. Artwork, not stick figures or doodles. Real, surprisingly elegant depictions of animals, bison, deer, wild horses, etched and painted on the stone with ochre, charcoal, and something that might be dried blood. It's haunting, beautiful. Someone, thousands of years ago, took the time to make these. Not for survival, not for food, but for memory, maybe even meaning. And here's the fun part. Historians still argue why cave paintings exist at all. Were they hunting magic, teaching tools, spiritual rituals, or just very early Instagram posts saying, "Check out this bison I saw today"? You stand there, torchlight flickering across prehistoric horses, and feel strangely small, like time has folded in on itself. You're looking at the mind of someone just like you. Someone who worried and wondered and maybe stubbed their toe on the same rock you just tripped over. Back at the cave entrance, you settle in beside the fire with others. A new task begins, creating tools. Someone hands you a rock and gestures, break it, shape it. You're now in pre-industrial manufacturing. Using a second stone, you awkwardly strike until the first one chips, forming a sharp edge. This is called flint knapping, and you're terrible at it. One shard flies and nearly hits your foot. Another cuts your palm slightly. You bleed, just a bit, a rite of passage, really. Eventually, you end up with something vaguely knife-like, sort of, maybe. A woman pats your shoulder like a proud but resigned teacher. You are now armed, just not very well. Dinner is dried meat again, with some roasted roots and something green you didn't help gather but are definitely chewing. It's bitter, possibly a prehistoric lettuce, possibly poison, but others are eating it, so you pretend it's a salad and keep going. That night, the cave is warm. Bodies sleep close, fires flicker gently, and you listen to the wind outside, muted by rock walls. You no longer feel the open vulnerability of sleeping outside. It's not luxury, but it's the Stone Age equivalent of a hotel upgrade. As you lay there, eyes adjusting to the dark, your thoughts drift. You wonder about the people who lived in this cave before your group. Did they sit in the same spot? Were their worries the same? Hunger, weather, injury, wild animals, existential dread. Probably not the last one. That seems more like a modern bonus. Still, here you are, part of a lineage stretching backward in time. You've touched the same stones, slept beneath the same stars, walked the same paths, and while you probably wouldn't survive long without these people, you're learning, slowly, unevenly, but learning. Sleep creeps in, heavy and deep. No electric buzz, no glowing screens, just firelight and silence. The last thing you hear is someone humming softly in the dark, a tune without words, as old as the cave itself. You wake up in near darkness. The cave walls sweat with condensation, and the embers of the fire still glow faintly. Someone nearby snores, an ancient universal reminder that no matter the era, there's always that person. You sit up, stretch your aching limbs, and immediately bump your head against the low ceiling. Ah, yes, the joys of early architecture. Outside, a new day waits. There's no alarm clock, no buzzing phone, just the pale morning light filtering in through the cave mouth and the smell of damp earth. A few others are already up, tending to the fire or checking traps that were set the night before. You join them, fumbling with the knots on a snare made from twisted reeds. The trap is empty, but another further out has something, a small rodent, stiff and lifeless. It's food. You don't celebrate, not out loud anyway. But in the Stone Age, even a mouse is a small victory. Back at the cave, the rodent is quickly skinned with the tools you all made yesterday. Awkward shards of stone that now feel like extensions of your hands. It's not glamorous work. You try not to think about your favorite modern meals while removing tiny bones. The animal is roasted quickly over the fire, and though it smells more like burning hair than dinner, you eat it. Everyone does. Hunger is the best seasoning. Today's mission is more ambitious, constructing something resembling long-term shelter within the cave. Sure, the stone walls protect from weather and predators, but there's still a desire, almost instinctual, for partitions, for privacy. Even here, people carve out their own space. You help stack stones in a sort of barrier wall. Another group weaves reed mats and hangs them from branches wedged between rocks. You're building rooms, barely, but it feels revolutionary. One of the younger boys is carving something with a shard of bone, his own little figure. It's not functional, doesn't cut, doesn't hunt, just a tiny figure, like a person, maybe a spirit, maybe a dog. Historians still debate the purpose of these early carvings. Were they religious idols, toys, early forms of storytelling? No one knows for sure, but the impulse to make something just for meaning, that's ancient. By midday, the sun is high and merciless, like even here in the shadow of the cave. You venture out with a foraging group, weaving through rocky slopes and bramble thickets. The rules of gathering are simple. If it doesn't kill you, probably grab it. You pick berries cautiously, using the smell and taste test method. One older woman shows you how to chew a leaf and spit it. If it numbs your tongue, don't eat the plant. You wonder how many generations that knowledge cost. You find a patch of mushrooms. The group debates. Some say they're edible. Others shake their heads. The leader sniffs one, rubs it on his wrist, waits. No rash. He eats a piece, waits again, shrugs. Probably not deadly, his face says. You take one, chew. It tastes like rubber and old leaves. You really miss your kitchen. Back at the cave, the children play a game, hopping between rocks, tossing bones like dice. Their laughter echoes off the walls. Even here, with the daily threat of injury, hunger, or surprise predators, there is play. And where there is play, there's hope. Night falls again, and the stars return, vast and uncaring. You sit by the fire, staring into the flames, your new bone blade in hand. You've stopped flinching at the sparks. You've stopped longing for pillows. Well, mostly, someone begins telling a story. No words you recognize, just gestures and sounds. But you understand enough. It's about a great hunt, a chase, a triumph. It's epic and silly all at once. Others chime in, adding flourishes. One mimics an animal with exaggerated flair. Another falls over dramatically, pretending to be eaten. Everyone laughs. Storytelling is older than writing, older than agriculture, probably older than sarcasm. You watch and wonder what stories of you would sound like. The clueless outsider, the terrible hunter, the cave dweller who can't make a decent spear but tries anyway. You'll take it. You fall asleep near the fire again, your mat under your shoulder and your head against a rock. It's not soft, but it's familiar. You've stopped questioning whether you'll make it to tomorrow. For now, you just rest, because tomorrow you'll have to start all over again. You wake to shouting. It's not panic, but loud enough to jolt you upright, heart thudding like a war drum. You stumble out of the cave, squinting into early light, and spot several people pointing toward the forest below. You follow their gaze, and after a moment see them. Animals. Big ones, grazing at the edge of the trees. Your stomach flips. It's hunting day. There's no argument, no debate. The group's decision is swift. Meat is precious. You grab your spear, still more stick than weapon, and fall in line with the others. No camouflage, no scent blockers, no radios. Just bare feet, muscle, and a lot of hope. The hunt is clumsy at first. You follow the animals, deer, maybe, but they're fast, too fast. The group breaks into two, circling around them, trying to drive the herd toward a natural bottleneck, a narrow ravine with steep sides. One older man signals for silence with a quick wave, then mimics what must be a sprint and a throw. He's leading the ambush. You crouch behind a rock, spear ready, heart pounding in your ears. Minutes stretch, your breath slows. The first animal enters the ravine, then another and another, 5 in all. The ambush team bursts from their hiding spot. Spears fly, shouts erupt. You miss again. Of course you do, but someone else lands a hit, a deep one. The animal stumbles. A second spear brings it down. It kicks violently, then stills. There's cheering, a kind of low, throaty chant that sounds ancient and triumphant. You move in cautiously, watching the others begin the bloody business of butchering. This time you help. It's not pretty. You hold the legs while someone slices. The smell is overpowering, metallic, earthy, awful, and weirdly normal. Historians still argue whether these hunts were communal from the start or whether early humans competed for meat in smaller, secretive groups. What's clear now is the strength of cooperation. Without it, no one eats. The animal is divided quickly. Strips of meat are skewered on branches and hung to dry. Organs are examined, some kept, some tossed. One woman scoops out the stomach lining and mutters something that sounds ceremonial. It might be respect. It might be a snack. Hard to say. You carry your share back to the cave, hands and tunic stained red. A child looks up at you with awe. You feel taller than you are. Inside the cave, smoke rises again. Fires are stoked and a stew begins. A strange bubbling mix of roots, meat, and something that might have once been an onion. It smells not terrible. You eat slowly, letting the warmth fill you from the inside. It's the best thing you've tasted in days, which says more about your recent meals than the stew itself. Later, as dusk falls, you sit by the fire with others, sharpening your spear, or trying to. You still can't get the point quite right. A man beside you, a veteran of this life, with a face like baked leather, takes your spear, grunts, and reshapes the tip with quick, practiced strikes. He hands it back, nods. You nod too. It's the longest conversation you've had all day. Then the storm hits. It starts with wind, howling, shrill and cold, then rain, heavy and sudden. The cave floods slightly near the entrance, forcing everyone to shuffle back, deeper into the dark. Someone scrambles to move the meat racks. The fire sputters, nearly dies. You feel the panic rise. There are no tarps, no flashlights, just wet clothes and shrinking firelight. For a moment, it's chaos. Then someone starts singing. A soft, rhythmic hum. Others join in. The melody is simple, looping, comforting. The cave, despite the storm, holds steady. The sound of thunder fades into the background of this ancient lullaby. You don't know the words, but you hum along anyway. You huddle close, warm bodies all around, and think, this is survival, not just meat or fire. but this, togetherness, that invisible thread that binds humans across millennia. Eventually, the rain slows, the wind dies, and in its place, quiet. A few people begin to drift off. You remain awake a while longer, staring at the darkened ceiling, thinking about what tomorrow might bring. Another hunt, another injury, another piece of knowledge carved into your increasingly callous skin? Sleep comes slowly. Your last thought before drifting off is a simple one. You're still here. You wake to a silence that feels different. Not peaceful, but watchful. Like the trees outside are holding their breath. You sit up, joints creaking, and glance around the cave. A few others are stirring, rubbing their eyes, stretching under the furs and woven mats. The fire has burned low again, but the coals still glow, stubborn as always. You step outside into a cool morning mist. The storm has passed, but the sky still sulks under a thick blanket of gray. The ground is wet and glistening, pocked with puddles and footprints. A crow calls somewhere, hoarse and complaining. You know what this weather means. Travel. It's time to move. You hear the elders murmuring in their corner of the cave, pointing toward the horizon. Food around here is growing scarce. Too many mouths, too few roots. And the herd you hunted yesterday? Gone. Probably miles away by now. The group must follow. You try not to groan out loud. Packing up is laughably simple. There are no bags, no zippers, no neat storage cubes. Just what you can carry in your arms or lash to a makeshift sling over your back. You roll your bone knife into a wrap of hide, tie it with sinew, and sling your crude spear over your shoulder. The furs go last, damp and heavy. You don't complain. No one does. Complaining is a luxury you gave up around the third day of sleeping on rocks. The group sets out in a slow, uneven line, children on hips, elderly at the center, watchful eyes scanning the tree line on all sides. You trudge through mud, past skeletal trees and boulders, so ancient they might as well be the grandparents of every rock you've ever kicked. The pace is exhausting, but not frantic. This isn't a sprint, it's survival at a walking pace. You pass landmarks that look like nothing to modern eyes, just a bend in the river, a tree shaped like a crooked finger, a set of claw marks on a smooth rock. But these are your ancestors' road signs. They know the way, even if you don't. You're just trying not to twist an ankle. Midday brings a break. The group stops near a stream to drink and gnaw on dried meat. You collapse on a mossy rock, legs burning. One of the hunters pulls out a tiny pouch, some kind of crushed leaves, and sprinkles it on his tongue. He offers you a pinch. You hesitate. He mimics a you'll feel better face. You take it. It tastes like mint and regret. Still, it does wake you up. As you walk again, you notice something strange. Paintings. Faint, weathered, but definitely there. On the side of a boulder, red ochre lines, stick figures, an animal with too many legs. You stop and stare. One of the elders chuckles and pats the stone. A map? A warning? A story? Historians still debate the purpose of such markings. Were they communication? Art? Magic? You don't know, but you feel their presence like echoes in stone. Someone made this with their bare hands, in mud and charcoal for you to see, thousands of years too late. By late afternoon, the group finally stops in a wide clearing, a good spot, elevated, near water, and protected by a ring of massive stones. The adults immediately fan out to scout and gather. You're told to help build shelter again. Lucky you. This time it's more than just furs over sticks. You're making something semi-permanent, using bark, mud, and bones to form frames. It's not glamorous, but it works. Your hands are raw by the time the structure resembles anything useful. As night falls, the cold returns fast. You huddle by a new fire, your second home in as many days. You still miss your bed, but now you miss it less. Dinner is questionable. A root stew with something chewy in it. You don't ask, you just eat. Around the fire, a woman begins to chant. The group joins her slowly, humming in harmony. You realize this is a ritual. Maybe for protection, maybe gratitude. Or maybe they just like the sound of singing together under the stars. It's beautiful, either way. Then, something unexpected. A child comes up to you and hands you a necklace, twine, a tooth, and a smooth pebble. You look at them, confused. They gesture toward your neck. It's a gift, a primitive badge of honor. You're part of them now. You put it on, feeling the weight settle against your chest. Not heavy, but real. It matters. In this world where every object is earned, made, and bartered by hand, it means something. Even if it's just a kid being nice, it hits you. You sit quietly, watching sparks rise into the dark sky. That night, you don't sleep in the cave. You sleep under a hut you helped build, on a pile of leaves you gathered. You listen to the wind in the trees, the crackle of fire, the soft rhythm of distant snoring. And for the first time since waking up in this era, you don't feel like you're just surviving. You feel like you belong. Not forever, not comfortably. But for tonight, this is enough. And that's what the Stone Age is, really. Just enough. Enough food to see tomorrow. Enough shelter to not freeze. Enough company to not lose your mind. And enough story, etched in rock, carved in bone, passed by firelight, to remember who you are and who came before you. Morning breaks with a sharp edge, sharper than you expected. The sun slices through the thick leaves overhead, scattering golden specks across the wet earth below. You wake up stiff and sore, muscles aching from sleeping on nothing but hard dirt and rough leaves. No soft mattress here, no pillows, just the raw touch of nature pressing against your skin. Your breath forms little clouds in the chilly air as you push yourself up, joints protesting with every move. The camp stirs around you, murmurs spreading as the elders gather everyone near a large, flat stone beside the fire pit. Curiosity claws at your chest as you shuffle closer, heart hammering with a mix of excitement and dread. Today's lesson will be different, you can tell. One elder holds up a jagged chunk of flint, its edges catching the morning light like a secret waiting to be revealed. In the other hand, he brandishes a smaller stone, a hammer designed for precise strikes. With practiced motion, he begins tapping the flint, sharp flakes breaking off like tiny shards of glass, revealing razor-sharp edges beneath. Sparks dance in the air with each hit. It's mesmerizing, almost magical. Now it's your turn. You reach for the hammerstone, fingers trembling. Trying to copy the elder's steady rhythm, you strike the flint. Your hands are clumsy and unsure. Suddenly, a shard slips and slices into your palm, a sting of pain sharp and immediate. You grit your teeth, biting back a curse. Someone rushes over, pressing a clean, soft leaf against your wound. Their whispered word is unfamiliar, perhaps a prayer or a healing charm. The blood oozes, sticky and warm. Flint napping isn't just a skill, it's a lifeline. A broken spearhead means no hunt, no food, no survival. You grit your teeth and focus harder, pain forgotten. After what feels like endless tries, a small flake finally comes free. Imperfect, jagged, but undeniably yours. The elder nods approvingly, pride flickering in his eyes. You feel a rush, an echo of ancient hands guiding yours. Next comes bone carving. The elder produces thin, brittle bone fragments and carefully shapes them with a sharp flint blade into hooks, needles, and awls, tools for sewing and crafting clothes that fit better than simple hides. You marvel at how such small innovations can change life so drastically. Better clothing means less cold, fewer wounds, longer life. Historians still argue whether sewing began purely out of necessity or carried ritualistic meaning from the start. But you know one thing, it's brilliant. The afternoon stretches long and hot, filled with new challenges. Your next task, mastering fire starting with nothing but sticks and patience. No matches, no lighters, just raw friction and willpower. You try the ancient hand drill method, rolling a thin stick between your palms against a wooden base, smoke curling but no flame. Your hands blister, sweat drips into your eyes, and frustration gnaws at your resolve. The elder watches patiently, his gaze steady and unjudging. He offers quiet tips, how to position your hands, how to breathe gently to feed the ember. Hours pass, you almost give up more than once. Then, faintly glowing, a tiny ember appears. It's fragile and faint, but alive. You carefully transfer it to a nest of dry leaves, breathing softly, coaxing it to grow. Suddenly, a flicker, then a small, dancing flame. You exhale, heart pounding with triumph. That fire is more than warmth or light. It's life itself, a barrier against the cold, the wild beasts, the dark unknown. That night, the tribe gathers around the fire, sharing a stew richer than anything you've tasted in days. The warmth seeps into your bones, chasing away the day's exhaustion. Elders tell stories, voices weaving ancient legends of beasts, spirits, and heroes whose lives shape this harsh world. The language is rough, the words sometimes lost to time, but the feeling is clear. You belong, if only for this moment. You lie back on the earth, eyes heavy, watching the stars flicker through the treetops. You think about how far you've come, from helpless and lost to someone who naps flint, starts fire and stitches hides. Yet, beneath the pride and the warmth, a cold truth settles in. This life is brutal and unrelenting. There is no pause, no safe retreat. You probably wouldn't survive the Stone Age. But tonight, wrapped in firelight and story, you let yourself pretend. The morning greets you with a biting chill that seeps through your thin animal hide cloak. A harsh reminder that the Stone Age is no place for the faint-hearted. You rub your hands together, trying to coax warmth from the cold air as the first pale light filters through the dense canopy overhead. Mist curls low over the riverbank, making the landscape look like a secret waiting to be uncovered. You trudge toward the water, your feet sinking slightly into the wet, sticky mud, each step heavier than the last. Today's lesson promises to change everything. Watercraft. Yes, a boat. Something that will carry you across rivers and lakes. A technology so simple, yet so revolutionary, it reshapes how your tribe survives and explores. You watch skeptically as the elders reveal a large dugout canoe resting patiently on the bank. It's a massive, hollowed tree trunk, stripped of bark and carved with stone tools to a surprisingly sleek form. The wood is smooth to the touch, worn by weeks of hard labor and constant use. Your first thought? How is this thing not going to fall apart or sink instantly? But the elder's calm, knowing smile tells you to trust the process. You clamber into the canoe awkwardly, wobbling as your body adjusts to the unfamiliar rocking platform. Holding a wooden paddle, you imitate the motions you've seen from the elders, feeling the water's resistance with each stroke. The current pulls you gently downstream, the river alive with darting fish shimmering beneath the surface. Balancing is harder than you expected. Your arms ache from the effort, and your knees wobble. The elders offer quiet encouragement, sharing tips on grip, posture, and how to read the water's flow. With practice, your strokes become steadier, the canoe cutting through the river's mirror surface with surprising grace. Each moment you spend in the boat, the more natural it feels, as if the river itself begins to accept you. The boat isn't just a tool, it's freedom. For the first time, the landscape doesn't seem like a prison, but a vast playground filled with opportunity. You imagine crossing wide lakes to new hunting grounds or escaping threats with speed impossible on foot. The canoe is a bridge between worlds, the known and the unknown. Historians still argue about exactly when humans first took to the watercraft, some claiming it happened tens of thousands of years ago, others suggesting much later. But there's no question it was a pivotal moment. Water opened new routes for migration, trade, and culture. In some ways, this simple canoe is a stepping stone toward everything you know today. As the sun climbs higher, warming your chilled skin, you settle by the fire with the tribe. The smell of smoked fish fills the air, a feast earned through patience and newfound skill. You chew thoughtfully, the smoky flavor rich and unfamiliar, a reminder that every small innovation here is a thread in a larger tapestry of survival. You listen as the elders share stories of ancient voyages, some crossing vast waters, others exploring rivers winding through unknown lands. Their voices are low and rhythmic, weaving tales of bravery, loss, and discovery. The flickering firelight casts dancing shadows on weathered faces, making the stories come alive with every crackle. You realize the canoe isn't just about travel. It's about connection. It allows your tribe to fish from richer waters, trade with distant groups, and spread ideas like sparks carried on the wind. With each paddle stroke, humanity's world grows a little bigger, a little more intertwined. Later, as night falls and the camp quiets, you lie back under the starry sky, the cool earth grounding you. The vastness above mirrors the new horizons opened by that simple boat. You think about the countless generations who relied on tools like this, struggling against cold, hunger, and danger. You feel a flicker of hope mixed with humility, knowing that despite your progress, the Stone Age is relentless and survival is never guaranteed. You probably wouldn't last long here without these skills, or the guidance of those who came before you. And yet, every new skill you learn, every challenge you overcome, pulls you a little deeper into this ancient world. Tomorrow will bring new lessons, new struggles, but for now, you let the river's gentle song lull you into sleep, dreaming of distant shores and the endless adventure that is survival. The dawn arrives with a softness that belies the day's brutal lesson ahead. You awaken to the sharp calls of birds and the rustle of leaves stirred by a cool breeze. Today, the elders declare, you will learn the art of tracking, an essential skill for any hunter in the Stone Age. You stretch muscles still sore from yesterday's efforts and follow the group into the thick forest, the ground damp beneath your worn feet. The elders point to faint impressions on the soft earth, broken twigs, scattered leaves, a crushed patch of moss, and explain how these subtle signs reveal the presence of animals. Your eyes strain to catch details, trying to separate meaningful clues from the endless noise of nature. A snapped branch here, a trail of droppings there, each tells a story if you know how to read it. You crouch low, feeling the dirt's cool texture against your palms, trying to imprint every detail into your memory. The forest smells of pine and damp earth, a mix both comforting and unsettling. Your heartbeat quickens as you imagine the creatures that left these traces. Deer, boar, maybe even predators lurking nearby. Tracking is more than just following footprints. It's about understanding animal behavior, patterns, and territory. The elders teach you how to move quietly, how to anticipate where prey might go, and how to avoid alerting your quarry. Every sound and scent carries meaning, and missing even one detail could mean the difference between a successful hunt and going hungry. You recall the stories of ancient hunters who could read the forest like a book, blending into their environment so completely that animals passed by unaware. Some say this skill was as much spiritual as practical, a dance between humans and the wild. Historians still argue whether early tracking was purely survival or intertwined with ritualistic respect for the animals. The afternoon sun filters through the dense canopy as you practice these newfound tracking skills. You move cautiously, every step measured, your senses heightened. The forest feels alive in a way you hadn't noticed before. The snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the faint scent of musk all become signals in this ancient code. Suddenly, the elder halts and raises a hand. You freeze, eyes scanning the underbrush. There, barely visible in the shadow, a set of fresh footprints leads deeper into the woods. Your pulse quickens. This is it, the chance to put your lessons into action. Following the tracks, you notice subtle changes in the soil's texture and direction, signs of the animal's gait and speed. You move slowly, careful not to disturb the environment. The thrill of the chase pulses through you, a primal rush that's both exhilarating and exhausting. Eventually, you catch sight of a wild boar grazing near a thicket. Your heart pounds. This is a dangerous animal, quick and strong, and a single mistake could mean injury or worse. You steady your breath, recall the hunting techniques taught by the elders, and prepare your spear. You throw. The spear flies, thudding into the boar's side. The animal squeals, thrashing wildly, and you and the tribe rush forward to finish the hunt. It's a messy, desperate struggle, far from the romanticized hunts you might imagine. But this is survival, raw and brutal. Back at camp, the boar's meat is shared and prepared, a vital source of nourishment for the tribe. The elders nod approvingly at your effort. You may not have been the perfect hunter yet, but you're learning. Each scar, each success, each failure stitches you tighter into this ancient way of life. You lie under the stars that night, muscles aching and mind racing, aware that this brutal skill is essential for the Stone Age's unforgiving world. You probably wouldn't last a day without it. Morning comes wrapped in a misty veil as you awaken to a world that feels both familiar and foreign. Today's challenge is crafting clothing. Not just any clothing, but durable, functional attire from animal hides and natural fibers. Without it, the biting cold and relentless elements would quickly wear you down. You shiver, the dampness settling deep into your bones, reminding you that Stone Age survival isn't just about brute strength, it's about adapting. The elders gather around a fire pit where several freshly tanned hides lie stretched on wooden frames. They demonstrate scraping techniques using sharp flint tools, removing flesh and hair with painstaking care. You try to mimic their motions, the rough edges of the stone biting into your palms as you work. It's slow, tedious labor, but you sense its vital importance. Once the hides are cleaned, the next step is softening. The elders use animal brains mixed with water, a somewhat icky but effective method, to soften and preserve the leather. You wrinkle your nose but follow suit, spreading the mixture over the hides, massaging until they become supple. This process, they explain, was passed down for generations, a mix of necessity and tradition. Sewing comes last. Using bone needles and sinew threads, you begin stitching the hides together to create rudimentary garments, tunics, leggings, and cloaks. Each stitch feels awkward at first, your fingers fumbling with the sinew's stubborn resistance. But as hours pass, your confidence grows. Historians still debate the exact timeline for the development of tailored clothing in prehistoric times. Some argue it emerged as early as 40,000 years ago, linked to humans migrating into colder climates. Others suggest it was a gradual evolution tied closely to hunting and social organization. Regardless, clothing wasn't just protection, it was identity, status, and sometimes even ritual. By day's end, your hands ache, but you hold up your first crude tunic with pride. It's not perfect, but it's yours, a tangible symbol of progress in an unforgiving world. As dusk settles, the campfire's warm glow flickers over the newly fashioned clothing drying on wooden racks. You slip into your rough tunic, the softened hide scraping against your skin, unfamiliar yet comforting in its protection. The cold that bit at you this morning feels less harsh, a shield forged by your own hands. The elders watch approvingly, their nods a silent acknowledgement of your growing skills. They recount tales of ancient peoples who adorned themselves with elaborate clothing and jewelry made from bones, feathers, and shells, not merely for warmth, but as symbols of belonging and status. Some tribes believe such adornments held spiritual power, a belief that still fuels debates among historians about the interplay of function and ritual in early human attire. You feel a strange sense of pride and connection as you realize that clothing was not just survival gear, but an extension of culture, communication, and identity. Your tunic, however crude, places you within a long line of humans who mastered the art of adaptation. Later, as the camp settles into the quiet rhythm of night, you find yourself reflecting on how far you've come, from fumbling with stone tools to navigating rivers and now crafting your own clothing. The Stone Age is relentless, demanding, and sometimes brutal, but these small victories stitch together a fragile tapestry of hope. You probably wouldn't survive long without these skills, but here you are, learning, adapting, surviving. And tonight, as you drift off under a sky smeared with stars, the rough fabric of your tunic feels like a gentle hug from history itself. You awake to a thick, heavy silence that feels charged, almost electric. Then the distant rumble of thunder rolls across the sky like a warning drumbeat, vibrating through the trees and deep into your chest. The air hangs humid and dense, the scent of wet earth and pine sharp in your nostrils. You know today will bring a storm, a challenge not of beasts or hunger, but of nature itself. The Stone Age world doesn't wait or soften its blows. When rain pours, cold bites, and wind howls, you have nowhere to hide except what you build with your own hands. The elders call everyone together, and the tribe sets out to gather materials for shelter. There's no time to waste, no second chances. Without proper cover, the rain will soak you to the bone, chill will creep inside, and sickness could follow in days. You trudge through the mud, every step sinking slightly. Leaves and broken branches wet and slippery beneath your feet. Your fingers ache from scraping bark and snapping twigs, but your focus sharpens as you search for the right branches, thick enough to support weight, but light enough to carry. Vines and large leaves are plucked carefully. Every piece of moss and bark counts. Your heart pounds not from exertion, but from the sharp knowledge that failure to build a good shelter could mean death. The elders demonstrate how to weave branches into a frame, sturdy and angled to shed rain. You try to copy their expert movements, though your hands are clumsy and raw. The vines twist and loop under your fingers, securing the structure, while the large leaves are layered like shingles to keep the rain from dripping inside. Moss and grasses are stuffed in the gaps for insulation. It is a patchwork of nature, fragile yet functional. As you work, you catch yourself imagining something more permanent, like the mammoth bone huts you've heard about, massive structures made from the skeletons of gigantic beasts and covered with thick animal hides. Those were homes of the lucky few, a step beyond mere survival, proof that early humans could shape their environment in ways that went beyond the moment. Historians still argue whether these bone huts were seasonal shelters or year-round homes, and how their existence may have encouraged more complex social bonds or migration patterns. The sky darkens rapidly, and you dive under your newly built lean-to just as the first drops of rain fall, cold and sharp against your skin. Soon the rain pounds the leafy roof, the sound rhythmic and relentless, a natural drum line that drowns out all other noise. The wind sweeps through the forest, bending branches and rattling your fragile refuge. You curl up, pulling your arms close, feeling the damp chill creep through your rough tunic and settle deep into your bones. Around you, the camp rushes to fortify their shelters or huddle around fires. The crackling flames sputter and spit against the wet, and you find yourself mesmerized by their dance, a tiny fortress of warmth and light in a storm-racked world. Conversations fall to whispers, stories shared quietly, as the tribe leans on each other for comfort and strength. You think about the fragility of your shelter, a simple construction of branches, leaves, and vines, and the constant threat posed by the elements. This is a world without modern conveniences, no waterproof jackets, no insulated tents, no forecasts or warnings. Just your hands, your knowledge, and your will to survive. The storm rages through the night. Thunder cracks overhead like the roar of a wild beast. Lightning flashes illuminate the forest in stark white, and rain cascades in sheets, hammering the canopy and ground. You lie awake for hours, listening to the raw power of nature unleashed. The cold tries to seep in despite the shelter, reminding you how vulnerable you are in this ancient world. Yet as you watch the fire flicker and feel the steady presence of your tribe, you sense something else: resilience. Shelter isn't just about protection from the storm. It's about community, about carving out a space where life can continue. It is the embodiment of hope in a harsh world. The elders remind you how vital shelter was for early humans. Beyond warmth and dryness, shelter offered safety from predators and insects, helped conserve energy, and enabled social gatherings that forged stronger bonds. This was not mere survival, but the foundation of civilization itself. Some tribes went further, building semi-permanent villages with stone and wood, while others remained nomadic, carrying simple shelters as they followed game. Historians still argue about the pace and reasons for this shift, and whether changes in climate or social organization drove innovations in housing. By the time dawn breaks, the storm has passed, leaving the forest dripping and fresh. You crawl out of your lean-to, muscles stiff but heart a little stronger. The shelter may have been crude, but it kept you safe through the night, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptation. You probably wouldn't last long without such shelters in the Stone Age. It's not just the spear or the fire that keeps you alive. It's these small inventions, these fragile refuges, built with patience and skill. As you move through the wet forest, stepping carefully over puddles and fallen branches, you carry with you the knowledge that shelter is more than a roof. It's a symbol of survival, of community, of the slow, relentless human journey toward mastering the wild. And in that slow mastery, there is a quiet triumph, one that whispers of ancient nights, of storms weathered, and of hope held close beneath the dripping leaves. The morning after the storm greets you with a fragile kind of silence, one that feels like the world itself is holding its breath. You emerge from your shelter. The dampness clings to your skin, and the mud still cakes stubbornly on your feet. Your hair is matted from the rain, and your clothes stick uncomfortably, but the air smells fresh, pure earth, soaked leaves, and the unmistakable scent of survival. The forest around you awakens slowly. Birds cautiously resume their songs, as if testing the quiet, while small animals dart through the underbrush, shaking off the remnants of the storm. The sun pierces the canopy in golden beams, lighting the glistening leaves and casting long shadows that stretch across the forest floor. Today, your focus shifts from the harshness of survival to something equally vital: community. Because in the Stone Age, no one really survived alone. You wander among the tribe, exchanging smiles and stories, passing along scraps of food and sharing tools. Each interaction is a thread woven into the web of mutual support that holds you all together. This isn't just kindness, it's strategy, and it's essential. You watch the elders gather a small group of children and teenagers around a fire, patiently teaching them how to make simple traps from sticks and vines. Their hands guide the younger one's fumbling fingers, showing how to set snares for rabbits or dig pits covered with leaves. The children's eyes are wide with wonder and concentration, the spark of curiosity already fueling the skills that will one day keep them alive. These lessons are far more than games or traditions. They are lifelines passed down through generations. You remember your own early attempts, clumsy and frustrating, often ending with a miscatch or broken spear. Yet, with every mistake you learned, growing stronger and more capable. Teaching and learning were the core of survival, a living chain that ensured the tribe's endurance beyond a single season or harsh winter. Social bonds in prehistoric communities were complex, fragile, and fiercely important. Cooperation wasn't a luxury. It was a necessity for hunting the large, dangerous animals that fed the tribe, gathering the scattered resources in the wilderness, and protecting one another from predators and rival groups. Historians still debate the exact size and structure of these bands. Were they mostly family groups or more fluid alliances? What's clear, though, is that isolation meant vulnerability, and collaboration meant life. Later, as the sun dips low and the sky softens into a palette of pinks and purples, you gather around the fire with your tribe. The air cools and the conversation slows to a quiet murmur, voices dropping to whispers that mix with the crackling flames. Laughter fades into comfortable silences as everyone reflects on the day's struggles and small victories. You think back to the storm's harsh lessons and your fragile shelter, the food you caught, the knowledge passed on by the elders, and the unspoken bonds that keep the tribe strong. The Stone Age is a brutal world, full of dangers that modern life has thankfully erased, but it's also a world defined by human ingenuity, resilience, and the deep power of community. You probably wouldn't survive the Stone Age without the people beside you, without this intricate web of shared knowledge, care, and trust. Alone, the cold, the hunger, the predators would overwhelm you swiftly. Together, however, you carve out a fragile but lasting existence, a testament to the human spirit's will to endure. As night falls and the stars emerge, you feel the fire's warmth ripple through the group, a beacon of light and life in the surrounding darkness. Faces are illuminated by flickering flames, worn by wind, time, and hard living, yet alive with determination and quiet hope. The past feels close, no longer a distant tale, but a lived experience, one that pulses in your veins even now. The Stone Age wasn't simple or easy. It was relentless, raw, and often merciless, but it was also deeply human, full of struggle, creativity, and the origins of everything that would come after. Every hardship met and every lesson learned added a layer to the story of us. And as you close your eyes, the firelight fading and your breath slowing, you carry with you the echoes of those ancient lives, a whisper in the dark, a reminder of beginnings and endurance, of how far we've come and the wild road we walked to get here. You've traveled far tonight, back through the shadows of time, walking beside those who face the rawest edges of existence. Now as your eyelids grow heavy and your breathing slows, let the weight of those stories settle softly around you like a warm blanket. Imagine the flickering firelight fading to embers, the crackle quieting, the forest hush deepening. The wind whispers through ancient trees, carrying echoes of lives lived in a world both brutal and beautiful. The hardships of the Stone Age, the hunger, the cold, the danger, seem distant now, softened by the slow rhythm of your heartbeat. You don't need to survive that time. You live here now with the comforts they could only dream of. But in this quiet moment, you honor them, their grit, their resilience, their unyielding will to persist. Let your mind drift on that gentle current, easing from the wildness of survival to the calm of rest. The past folds away like a well-read book, its lessons tucked safely inside you. So, as you sink deeper into sleep, carry this with you. We are the heirs of that ancient struggle, the keepers of a flame that has burned for tens of thousands of years. And though the world has changed, the spirit that guided them still lives quietly within us all. Good night, and may your dreams be gentle, your rest deep, and your morning filled with light.